From Sunset Beach, Hawaii, weighing 267 pounds, the magnificent Muraco.
Why is it they call him magnificent? The man who lifts condominiums off his chest. Anything that's explosive, anything that's exciting, Prince of Darkness, Master of Destruction, perpetrator of violence. Get ready! I'm gonna burn this place down!
Hello everybody, it's James here, it's Don Muraco's Magnificent Podcast. Let's do the plugs. Books behind me with The Rock and Owen Hart on sale on Amazon. Don The Rock Muraco, who I can see in my screen is gesturing how I'm gesturing. DonTheRockMuraco.com for all your signed merchandise. And we are going to be continuing with WrestleMania 2, our odyssey through WrestleMania 2. But for now, Don, hello. It's been a long time no speak.
Yeah, a long time. Good day. Good day.
Good day. Oh, there was something I meant to bring up. So in the last week's podcast, you know, despite the fact we're wearing the same clothes, I mentioned that it was Samu in Body Slam. It wasn't. It was Sam Fatu, who was the Tonga... No, hang on. I left it on my phone so I could figure it out.
Oh, no, Tonga Kid.
Yeah, it's the Tonga Kid,
Tonga
not
Kid.
Samu. But the thing is that Tonga Kid is called Sam Fatu. And it's just like, how... Oh, my God, it's so confusing.
There's a lot of them.
Oh, there you go. So it's the Tonga Kid who was in Body Slam.
Yeah.
Before we crack on with WrestleMania 2, our second of two parts, I thought I'd bring up Ronda Rousey's return to the WWE. We're both big UFC fans, and I'm sure you saw most, if not all, of her fights. I saw them all, I know that. And what do you think of Ronda Rousey's return? And she's one of the few people who's a draw, at least on SmackDown as well, who's like a actual definite boost to viewership.
They've used her well.
On. Yeah.
Who's she working with? Charlotte?
Yeah, I think it'll be Charlotte at WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, then you gotta. She's pretty good. Yeah, you know her credentials, and she caught on real fast. She's still like a step behind. Half a step short. I haven't seen her in quite a while, but when she was probably a lot smoother now. Like all the girls that in the last several months that Charlotte's been putting over. They've been throwing more or less top girls at her, and she's been kind of beating, somehow, but in the process making them look great. So it'll be a good match. They have a ranch over here on Maui or the Big Island, something on Hawaii or Maui. That's my son, Travis Brown. She married the MMA big guy, 6'8", 6'10", and they live in Maui. So I guess they still got. So I don't know. It's a combination of names. I don't know. My son shot it off to me, but then there's a combination of Rhonda Brown or something. Their names for the but it's a little more catchy than that.
Because you mentioned Charlotte as well, I always get the impression you're a big fan of Charlotte Flair.
Oh yeah, she's great. Yeah, there's just a wealth of talent that they have. Guys that are AJ and Kevin Owens, and of course Orton and his partner, and and I just watched Charlotte. I was like, Jesus. Did she follow her father around, and no, I guess, she didn't, according to him, she didn't kind of pop till a couple of years before she got in the business. But my God, timing, psychology, everything, aside from the moves, she has all the moves, but her timing and psychology is just flawless, like Barry Windham when he was coming up, some of those guys, So she did right.
Who else on the women's division in WWE do you rate as really good talents? I mean, I don't really watch her. There's Becky Lynch and Asuka.
She's good. I like her. Snuka's daughter. She's getting a little push now and then. I see she's working steady anyway, and I like her. The girls are good. Not that I'm a big fan of the ladies, aside from, I don't watch the men either that much. I like a few guys, AJ, and I liked a lot of the men. Orton, of course, Orton. He's like family, so I kind of follow him. But
Matt Riddle is who you're thinking of before, I think, was it?
yeah, RK Bro. That's a good. Didn't hate seeing when he turns on the kid though. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
But it looked like maybe go out to pasture this way. He's been there 20 years. I'm sure he's got. Still looks good. Still works great. They had a big match tonight on what is it, Raw? I was left to give me a.
Still Monday for you, isn't it? I forget.
Monday,
it's Tuesday
Raw,
for me.
Yeah. That's why I said tonight.
Yeah. Oh, man, I tell you, I think we're 10 hours apart at the moment. I'm still getting flummoxed by these time differences. Just before we move off on this, did you see that Charlotte versus Nia Jax match from a few months ago that somehow went from a regular match and just devolved into just a shoot?
No.
We should watch that sometime.
Yeah,
because that'll be because it just got really awkward really quickly, and then she was fired. Nia Jax soon afterwards.
Yeah, don't mess with the franchise.
No, exactly. There's only one Flair. Well, there's loads of Flairs, I suppose. We'll move on then. WrestleMania 2, and we left Nassau Coliseum on the last episode, and we're going to go to the Rosemont Horizon, Chicago, Illinois, 9,000. In attendance. Now, you said that Chicago at the time was still, battleground with the AWA, but I mean, in my mind, this is WrestleMania. I thought it would be a sellout, and then I looked at the card, and it's a really crappy card, and it's a 1-hour event as well. I mean, do you think that probably played more into it than any AWA pressure?
Well, the 1 hour is what they shaved into the satellite feed. So they gave the house show. They gave the house, a better card, big show, probably 2-3 hour show. But then that 1 hour is what they shaved for his feet. That was the Battle Royal, right?
Yeah, that was the Battle Royal one. I believe what they did was that they put big screens down. So whenever it wasn't, so this is hour 2. So in hour 1 and hour 3, they put big screens down so they could see, New York's feed and LA's feed.
Yeah.
How come Chicago was it the NWA that was in Chicago? Sorry, I might be wrong there.
Everybody, but NWA was heading there by that time, and it was AWA and Vern and Bruiser. Bruiser were partners in that Chicago, that South Illinois, that Illinois area. So the Bruisers guys, Heenan and Lanza, Blackjack Mulligan, Moose Cholak, a bunch of those guys. Wilbur Snyder. Snyder was Bruce's partner, but they that was part of it, and they were like NWA, I think, and or probably not even any federation at that time. I don't know. I'm not sure. I never worked for them. And then Vern's guys too. So there were 2 TVs, and I think it's probably before Road Warriors and those guys started hitting it, but I'm not sure if it is. But Vern still had a pretty strong foothold in there.
When did the WWF start taking over Chicago then?
Well, not long after. I don't ever remember that we had. Well, Rosemont. We went to Rosemont, and that place got where they have this show. But there wasn't. There wasn't a Focus building, a Focus arena that they had. So they got Rosemont, I guess now. But we went. Where I did that Oprah Winfrey interview was University of Chicago, Illinois, in downtown. They had a big from the university auditorium there. I forget what it sat, maybe 12, 15,000. We're far from filling up that place. But it was, it was just getting, AWA was still strong there, and Bruiser, and I don't know where the TV had gone. They had the WGN, the Chicago TV, and had the Chicago Cubs and Chicago baseball. You know, they had I think Jordan was hot at the time. You know, Michael Jordan. Basketball was still, you know, it's a great sports town. You know, just right in the middle of the country, but you know, just didn't have the big foothold yet. It was growing though, you know.
Yeah, I think this is one of those towns where you probably visited like once a month, you know, to really try and establish it. But loads and loads of wrestlers say that the Rosemont Horizon is their absolute favorite building to work. Was that the same for you, and why is the Rosemont special?
I was only there a couple times. One time I was a steamboat and I ripped my leg and my groin the night before. So I could, you know, I had to hold Fuji's, like a Fuji and one of the ring guys to get down to the ring. Kind of made my way into the ring and did something, and Ricky just chopped me or something and ducked, and Fuji hit me with a salt about 2 minutes, you know, a minute. One of those. I couldn't walk. My whole leg blew up. I was all black and blue all the way from below my knee to up my stomach.
So a special night for you then.
Yeah, it was fast night, but you know, I broke into a sweat just trying to walk to the ring. It was murder.
Now I can't remember because I wrote 2 scripts obviously because if you can't guess by now, we record 2 episodes in a row. I can't remember if I mentioned in this week or last week that I was going to ask you about Vince McMahon and taking time off due to injury. Like, did you ever try and take time off due to injury and was turned away?
I got some time off with that groin. I think it was the Stanford office. I went up to Vince's office and I dropped my pants. You know, look at this, you know, flasher from New Jersey. But, you know, I said, oh, well, let me go. And I was chiropractor and they had those muscle tension things and everything. There's not a lot you can do for it. And I just ripped the groin. I don't know how or why. Working with my friend Valentine. That in St. Louis, Missouri. Matter of fact, yeah. I went to do a leg thing, boom, and boom. My whole groin just ripped up.
Yeah, so was that just like wear and tear, or was that like a freak accident?
I suppose, yeah. You know, I'd been doing the wheel. I did, you know, Bob Backlund's wheel, a bunch of that before I went in the ring, and everything else. I thought I was loosened up. Yeah, it was evidently just ready to go.
Yeah, was that the worst injury you got in wrestling? You think?
That my shoulder, tore the clavicle in San Francisco or San Jose, actually, San Francisco territory.
Go on, tell me about that. I don't think I've ever asked you about the shoulder. How did that happen?
I took a stupid bump. My fault. Somebody was doing it in a tag team with, I think it was the Von Brauners or somebody, or the Mask Guy Invaders. Maybe it was Tom Andrews and his partner. Anyway, I hit the ring. I was going to, you know, dropping a fall. So I did the thing, and it just came down to my shoulder wrong. It snapped my collarbones up here. And so they had to, and it was old. I guess now they don't really do surgery on it, but it was back in the old days. They went, stuck 2 pins on it, put it back in the, you know, the clavicle goes like that. It's a clavicle, and it was gone. So they just stuck 2 pins in it and they held it down. And after about 8 weeks, they pulled the pins out, and it was all back to normal again.
Did you ever get any surgery on the groin pull, or is it just something that you just have to leave?
Yeah, I just had to wait it out.
How many months off did you get?
Oh, God. A few weeks, yeah. Then I wrapped it. Then naturally, when you do that, the other one will go. It was in a week or so later. Then the pop the right one, then all of a sudden the left one went. That's when I had my legs, my thigh and everything all wrapped up. That wasn't a gimmick. That was a shoot.
No, WrestleMania 3, you've got your thigh bandaged up. We've even made a video of it that's probably one of the most popular videos, clips that we posted on the channel, was why you had your leg taped that day. In case you're wondering, it was the groin injury.
Yeah, I'm sure if it was up there and up high, yeah, it was. Yeah, that was sore.
Yeah. I will move on, and I'll talk you through the card, and this is the Chicago...
The beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Well, just before I do, yeah, no, you have said that before, that like basically just that was the injury that slowed you down.
Yeah, I lost my step.
Yeah.
I lost I couldn't belong, and then after I just couldn't spring up. It was the beginning of the end there.
Well, very specifically then, when you say you lost a step, was it just you were just slower getting started? Like, let's say for like,
I felt it. I felt that way.
yeah. When I say slower getting started, let's say if you're going to do the 100-meter run, it just is that much harder just to start off the process of getting your body moving.
Yeah. Getting off to taking the mat and getting back. Of course, I was headed for babyface then anyway, so I wasn't. It wasn't really necessary that I was up and down like that anymore. But that was the style I worked anyway. Even as a babyface or a heel. I moved and, I kept really busy a lot. So then, beginning of the end.
No, well, I mean, that really can't be helped, especially if it's, that bad of an injury that you can't, do surgery for, and you can't really take time off because Vince will probably just fire you.
Yeah. Lose your spot.
Yeah, exactly. Righto. WrestleMania 2. First match on the card, for the Chicago run, is Fabulous Moolah defeating Velvet McIntyre. Now, obviously, Fabulous Moolah was your girlfriend for all those skits.
My honey, yeah.
And, I'm sure you requested her to be your girlfriend and all of them.
Yeah.
Velvet McIntyre.
I was mad she wasn't in Nassau.
In Nassau?
That's why I was mad. She was not.
Right. I got you. Sorry, I completely missed that. God, I've had 3 hours sleep. I'm not picking up everything. Yeah, with the girls that used to come around in the 80s, did you ever? I don't mean this in a lascivious way. Spend any one-on-one time with any of them, get to know any of them well, because there's Velvet McIntyre.
They were still Moolah's girls. They're still living out of their suitcase. They'd come into a territory for a couple of weeks. And then New York territory was a different thing, but it was the same. Of course, they were in a different town every night. They were on the run, so I don't think they had an opportunity to settle down and settle down in New York and work that like a satellite back and forth. I don't know. They all 4 of them traveled together, I think. Pretty much. No, we didn't. A couple times Florida or something, might be out at a bar or have drinks or something, but it wasn't, they didn't really make themselves available, and it wasn't, it was kind of a different relationship at the time, I guess. There wasn't, nobody was down on them or anything. It was just, a matter of not being, they were on the road, they were on the move.
This might
a lot
be...
of them didn't like men.
Oh, yeah. I'm sort of inferring this, so you tell me if I'm wrong. Do you think the Fabulous Moolah was keeping the women purposely away from the men?
Sure.
To what end?
She keeping away from everything. She had a pretty iron fist there. And I don't know what the ladies had to go through, but.
So I'm. This is once again me assuming here. I presume that Vince McMahon or whatever promoter was bringing the women in would pay Fabulous Moolah, and then she would give the other ladies some scraps.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Did the women have it tougher?
Whether they were on a contract or guarantee, I don't know. I'm sure they got paid well, and she was dipping in their, she was dipping in their payoffs. So what percentage or what was I couldn't even begin to guess how many points she was shaving, and if she was getting all the money herself, and she was dispersing. I don't know how that worked.
Yeah, just keeping them on the bread line, maybe. I
don't know. You have to talk to one of the ladies.
Do you know, I've got the book of one of them. I think is it Lady Alexander? I've got the book of one of them, and I've got a email as well, so I could always email her and see if I get some information out of her. Definitely, but was it Lady Alexander? Lady Victoria. Lady Victoria. Really back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Lady Victoria.
Some of
Sorry.
them really bad. They didn't get along. She had a problem with Moolah. I know that. But some of the other ones, like Patty, Leilani Kai, a couple of the other ones still don't talk any shit about Moolah.
Yeah.
Whether they will afterward, if you want to get down and dirty, I don't know. But that's. I've been away from that for so long.
Did aside from the pay, did the women have it worse than the men? Or have just a more difficult time on the road?
Sure. Well, they were getting, I don't know what their situation was in South Carolina, but they were in a car all together go from territory to territory. They spent like maybe 2 weeks in a territory. First time around, it was, the women are here, big, like the midgets. They travel like the midgets and like Andre, like before Vince Sr. took over Andre's and then went to Junior before they took over Andre's booking. They'd go, they go to the territory. They'd come in, fantastic ladies tag team match. It would be, semifinal main event in the card. It would be, they'd run it along with a good, maybe had a tag team. It was, a spectacular, or maybe it wasn't, or maybe had a big, world title coming in, or a blow-off match or something like that. But they'd use them to headline, and then some places they just use them as alsos later on, depending on the frequency that they came into the town with. Now I'm talking shit that I really know what's going on. I don't really know what I'm talking about because I'm not sure, how they ran their business. I just know that Moolah was like Genghis Khan with them.
Definitely. I'll move on then. Corporal Kirchner defeats Nikolai Volkov. And in the main event, well, this isn't the main event actually, but it's probably the most famous match from this portion of the show. Andre the Giant wins the WWF versus NFL Battle Royal, and NFL players participating include Jim Covert, Harvey Martin, Ernie Holmes, Bill Fralick, Russ Francis, and William Refrigerator Perry. So knowing you as I do, I bet you were really upset that you weren't on that portion of the card, so you could have met all the NFL stars and actually meet people that you cared about.
Yeah, but more or less. I knew Russ. Russ is from Hawaii, and I worked for his dad, Ed Francis. But yeah, well, I got a bunch of shirts and stuff from Piper. He was flying around there. Naturally, Vince had everybody on the run there. He was doing promos and stuff for his bout with tea and stuff like that. So then, when he was with the football players, I got a William Perry, Refrigerator Perry jersey, and somebody else's. I got a couple of wrestling jerseys, a couple of Chicago Bear T-shirts, all that Piper had no use for.
Yeah. But he was on the card with you, so how did he end up with all the shirts?
Doing the promo, traveling around. They'd go to the town, 2 weeks before the event and do something live, or make the rounds around the news of the sport, or wherever they could make, get time on TV to plug WrestleMania 2.
I've actually watched the 30 for 30 ESPN special on the Chicago Bears, so that's why I know Refrigerator Perry.
There you go.
Yeah, so I actually know him. Was it 85 they won the Super Bowl?
I think so, yeah.
There you go. Look at that. I actually know Super Bowl winner.
85 Bears, well.
There you go. And the only other person of a wrestling connection really is Steve McMichael, Mongo McMichael.
Yeah, he went to and Russ Francis was from Russ, of course, Francis.
Oh, was he part of the Bears as well?
No, but he was a pro ball player. He was New England Patriots, and then he went to the 49ers. I don't know if he was still a current, but he was probably wrestling for his dad by that time. But I started with his brother.
I'll move on to the Battle Royal then. What are the rules of the Battle Royal? I've heard there's a sacred rule: no bumps in a Battle Royal. Were you ever told that when you were coming up in the business?
Yeah, it's probably got common sense, Don't want no high spots, and And I'd grab somebody. No, I was a senior guy. I'd grab somebody in the middle of the ring. I start calling, 2 tackles, slam, drop kick, and And then what? We can't do that. What are we talking about? And then I just walk away and laughing, just kind of, maybe a green, not a green guy. There's no green guys around, but maybe like quote unquote preliminary guy that kind of had more or less was obligated to listen to what I was the whatever gibberish I was spitting out and to take it seriously. So I'd grab him, I'd start 5-6 move high spots, 2 tackles, drop down, hip toss, can't, obviously you can't do that. There's 20 other guys moving around the ring, but in the moment, they're in a big battle royal, and those big battle royals like that, they're pretty kind of starstruck, and then you get, whoa,
how
some
many
fool running around telling you to do something stupid.
How many battle royals have you done over the years, and did you ever once get paid extra for doing a battle royal on the same show?
Oh yeah, $15,000 first prize, $10,000 winning prize. Yeah, sure, all the time. I was always fighting to get those big. Shit was just nothing. No.
Why didn't you cash the checks in like Austin Idol did?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know that story, don't you? Surely.
No.
So Mike McCord won a like $15,000 dollar battle royal, and you got a big floppy cardboard check with it or whatever. No, maybe it's just a regular size check. But basically, I think he'd had a fallout with whichever promoter it was, and he took it to the bank and said, "Are there any wrestling fans here? I won the battle royal last night. You need to cash this check." And whoever it was, not Fred, it may have been Fred Ward, signed it as well because it needed to appear on TV. And he convinced whoever it was in the bank, like the bank teller, to cash the check. So he got $15,000 or $10,000, let's say, and then just skipped town and didn't return.
Oh.
And it's not like Fred. Let's assume it's Fred Ward. It's not like Fred could go out and say, "Well, he didn't really win this," so his hands were tied.
Nobody did that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You could have 15,000 in a Rolls Royce.
That's a federal rap.
He got away with it.
I don't know for how long. Somebody had to make reparations.
Well, there wasn't a. I can't imagine he worked for that promoter again. So maybe they just took.
Or go to that bank.
Yeah, or go to that bank. Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Righto, we'll move on to the main event as it is. The British Bulldogs defeat the Dream Team of Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine for the WWF Tag Team titles. I'm going to ask, actually, before I mention Brutus, which will be my next question, their manager is Luscious Johnny V, and I don't think we've ever brought up Johnny V before. And he was a pretty big part of the WWF in the mid-'80s. He was one of the more featured managers. Any stories about Johnny?
He had a long run.
Yeah.
He had a long run there. Always had work. Nice guy. I don't know if he was a closet drinker or what. He was very quiet, I don't know if he was a drinker. I don't know what he didn't come like Boogie Woogie Man. He was never, he kept himself too. He was Boogie Woogie Man was really friendly. I guess Johnny was from like Lou Albano. And those, was more Cicluna and those kind of guys, Danucci. So I don't know. You never really, I've never really hung out with him a lot, was around. You would find him, in the hotels or somewhere afterwards. No.
Well, it's quite weird because I think he went into stand-up comedy for years afterwards as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He couldn't have been that introverted, but
no, he was a good talker. He had a good rap down, real clever rap. I don't know.
There were two brothers, weren't there? There's Jimmy.
Yeah.
What was the third one called? I can't remember.
Oh God, I don't know.
There was like a third Valiant brother that turned up in the WWF.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not familiar with the third. I'm sure there was. I just Johnny and Jimmy.
With Johnny V, sort of, I don't know, any lasting memories of, obviously you didn't spend much time with him personally, but as a manager, what do you think of him? As an on-screen personality, what did you think of him?
He was good, he was a good, hell of a talker, and he had his part there. I don't remember him even traveling with the guys too much. He worked sometimes, and then they put him. Eventually, I think they put tights on him. After naturally, they were a big tag team earlier, but he worked around a little while. I don't really remember his capacity there for a long time. He had that manager job, so I guess he's getting paid like the managers. And then whoever was booking, whoever was running the show, eventually had him, go back to the booth, put the boots back on, and gosh,
Yeah, he's just sort of just fading into back. It's a shame as well because I think he's quite overlooked really. And I always like when he did his interviews, he would start off on a tangent quite slowly and relatively calmly, and then he would legitimately flub a line or lose his train of thought, and then he'd start yelling and get crazy to sort of cover for it. So it was always an amusing interview. The third Valiant brother was Gentleman Jerry Valiant. He was called John Hill. He wrestled as Guy Mitchell and also the Stomper in some places.
A different Stomper, yeah. Guy Mitchell sounds familiar. I don't know if I was really close with him.
I could bore you to death with his Wikipedia. It seems Toronto, the Chic, that kind of area. Okay, I will move on then. And Brutus Beefcake is someone I thought I'd mention as well, because I think it's mostly forgotten. If you're looking at it through 2022 eyes, you're looking at it, he just looks a bit flamboyant, got some colours on him, struts around, nothing too out of the ordinary, I suppose, for professional wrestling. But at the time, was Brutus's gimmick meant to be that he was like a male escort or a gay stripper or something like that?
Yeah. At first, yeah.
Yeah.
They had him. He was like a Chippendales guy, and then he morphed into a barber. He couldn't dance anymore. Had to get a real job.
Because I think that's genuinely lost on, even my generation, that I hadn't put two and two together, because he was even billed from San Francisco, which we all know the inference of that.
Even later, even when it was Greg and stuff?
Yeah, when he was with Greg, with the Dream Team.
He didn't go to Tampa? He didn't change it to Tampa or anything? No?
I think it was probably after he turned babyface, he moved. Because all baby faces live in Tampa.
Yeah. Well, he was with the Hulk. He was the Hulk's boy. He went with the Hulk, and Hulk got him. Hulk took care of him. But they were friends. They weren't. They were from like kid school, from like grade school or something. And all the way. So he was. I guess somebody's ex-wife wrote. Hulk's ex-wife, huh? That they were gay and stuff? Nah. Stranger things, but it could be true, but I don't, it doesn't seem,
No, it doesn't seem likely. Was the maybe gay stripper kind of thing almost maybe a shot at Brutus for his relationship with Hogan? You think maybe it's like an inside thing?
He was a good-looking guy, good body, and it's hard to say.
Brutus Beefcake as a worker, did you work with him much, or did you work with him ever? How did you rate him at the time?
I didn't work with him much. He wasn't. He did business. I don't know. He wasn't. The guys that worked with him said he didn't take bumps or didn't take a lot of bumps. It didn't look like he did, He had, some guys who just got their thing. They don't have to, He was a pretty face, good body, good colors, always had a tan. So, he got that Chippendales thing. And he, he had Hulk in the office for him. So he had a tag belt, and, he worked as hard as he could. He was a good, he never bothered anybody.
No, it's always good to have an advocate like Hulk Hogan in your corner as well.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was going to be Intercontinental Champion as well before the parasailing accident.
You see how many guys got to be close friends with Hulk after a while.
Yeah.
And this end up, guys that I knew from before that they were stretching him when he was getting in.
Mm.
And then later we're shining his boots.
Any names in particular that spring to mind there? No.
No, yeah, man. Sure, but nah.
I understand. We'll move on then. We'll go to LA Memorial Sports Arena, Los Angeles, California. 14,500 in attendance. For LA, actually, that's not a bad house, considering how difficult everybody
at the
found
time.
it to draw.
At the time, it was a great house. Yeah, it was just coming. It was coming. They hadn't popped LA yet, and LA would never really pop as a regular. They needed a good card to go in there, and some time. I don't know. I've been at some that were hits, and some we figured like Shaq came down to see Hulk. Hulk drew big down there. They always did the Hollywood thing, so Hulk was a big good. Wasn't Hulk, Freddie Blassie and those guys eventually, but it was a hard nut to crack for a while.
Do you think that's
why? It had nothing to do with any other promotions.
Do you think that's why Hulk Hogan was starting to be built from Venice Beach, California, to, get that hometown sort of thing going on?
Well, Venice Beach was the bodybuilders, muscle guys, so he kind of fit like he was. It kind of went in line with that gimmick. The gimmick he had, I don't. When he came in and started, it wasn't. Wrestling wasn't geared to movie stars and advertising that manner.
Yeah. I think it's also worth mentioning that this is just off the top of my head, but when the WWF started going to LA in maybe 82, but definitely 83, I think, they were drawing houses like as low as 2,000, maybe even less, around that area. How long did it take for the WWF?
Well, I think we went into the Olympic first, the Olympic Auditorium, some of the first matches. And that was good for Eileen Eaton and the LaBelles at the time because it, had people educated for boxing and it was a habit to go downtown LA and stuff like that. Then bring a big show like that into there just kind of didn't fit. It was kind of a dungy arena, and the Olympic was kind of in a rotten part of town, and it was an old arena, so it was hard. It was famous, and people, it was you'd say the name and people would associate with it, but it took a while.
Do you think that more than anything, because LA's, a huge city with, I'm imagining, a fairly centralized population. Why was it so hard to draw there for so many years? Even for the NWA Hollywood, they found it hard to draw there for years. But booking obviously played a part in that. But what is it about LA?
Yeah, it's LA for anything, even the football, NFL. As big as they are, and they sell out and stuff, but it's 20 million people in that city, So you got the beach, you got the mountains, you got skiing, surfing, or you got whatever you want. You have there, within an hour, 2 hours drive from wherever you're at. So it's a hard ticket to sell. In Hollywood, they got everything: two Major League Baseball, two Major League basketball, two Major League football teams. It's a hard market. Yeah. Hollywood,
But New York's, New York, you managed to sell out, pretty consistently for years and years there.
Yeah, but everything's packed in.
Yeah,
everything's tight. Everybody's on a train or subway in New York. LA, you're driving from Orange County. You're driving an hour and a half in those freeways. Driving, hour somewhere. The traffic going into it didn't. There's, the Olympic wasn't an ideal place to hold too. Yeah. And like I said, then your TV's not over yet. Till your TV gets over, it was before, and then the cartoons and everything else came later, and Hulk was on the movies, and Piper and those guys, made their. So it took a while for LA.
What event or what match sort of broke LA wide open? To bring in more fans in. Do you remember?
Probably that. I know they pay to come see Hulk. They Hulk had big, good houses. It seemed that from what I can remember, 100 years ago that I was there, but it seemed like Hulk grew well there. If they had a good angle and they had time to put on a TV, the TV, once their TV got over, then they started doing business.
Yeah.
And it went out to, where do they go out to? Like the Forum, sports arenas, different places like that.
We shall move on then. Commentators for this leg. I didn't mention the last leg. It was Gorilla Monsoon and Gene Okerlund. Gene Okerlund was always, I don't know why. He's a great interviewer, but it never translates to commentary for me. Anyway, commentators Jesse Ventura and Lord Alfred Hayes. Now, this is a very famous day for Jesse Ventura because this is the day... hang on, is this what I've asked? Yes, this is the day that Jesse makes an appeal to the boys in the locker room to start a union. When did you first start hearing about Jesse Ventura pitching the idea of a union to everybody? Because you were obviously in New York.
About that time, it was a while. Jesse was a rad, educated, intelligent guy, and it sounds great, in theory. It's a hell of an idea, especially not having any, not having insurance or medical and stuff like that. In those days, in California, if you got hurt, the commission would take care of you. They did my shoulder and everything, they paid for that. But what were we talking about?
Union, Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, just, if you figure unions are something that like, my longshore, when I was in longshore, that's excess 20 something years, 20 or 30 years, and going in there and, they deduct it automatically from your check. The wrestling, they didn't, you got paid, you just got paid for the night, no deduction, no social security. So you had to fix all, do that. So it would be kind of uncomfortable trying to chase wrestlers down to contribute all the time, like 401k or to a social security or to get that kind of medical insurance, the unions tend to provide for you, that type of network, that type of netting that they give you. But in theory, it's, good. With anything, that's a good idea until you get to know more about unions.
Yeah, and then you've got to have like standardized pay across all territories.
And who's going to go for that? Hulk isn't going to be getting paid the same thing as I'm getting paid. Somebody, Mario Mancini or somebody like that. All those. Everybody on a pay. It's not equal pay, equal work. It's different guys in the TV and manipulating, all the backroom stuff that they do. Just how are you going to gauge all that? It's just.
Like a Ryback, if you remember that name from a few years ago. He was on WWE TV, and he was trying to say, well, we all do the same job. We should all get paid the same. It's like, shut up, Ryback. You don't know what you're talking about. Never heard it's just, no, the people who are the draws, the people who are the stars make more because they bring in more money and sell more tickets. And
the people, they're investing the money, the time in television. Because that's where that's your bankable hours, your hour, your appearance on TV. That's what makes you, that's what makes you a star, just having your face there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what makes you important.
Did Jesse ever suggest something like staging a walkout, unless demands were met, that kind of thing?
I never heard anything like, possibly, I never heard anything like that.
In 1994, during the royalties lawsuit, Jesse Ventura sued successfully Vince McMahon for about $810,000 all told. Over unpaid royalties or being screwed out of royalties over videotapes. It came out during that lawsuit that Hulk Hogan was the one who ratted out Ventura and his union plans to Vince McMahon. Did you have any idea who ratted who out at the time and, why conversation about union died so quickly?
No, but there are lots of rats around, it wasn't it didn't have to be Hulk. Probably Hulk got the heat for it. I'm sure, he might have been. I don't know, but there were no lack of any even before Vince. There, were no rat. Used to call them stooges. There's no shortage of those. Back in even the territory days, the guys used to bring donuts to the pastries to the the bookers in the offices in Charlotte or Florida or some Tampa or something like that. They're regardless of the whatever field you're in, got those characters that.
We want names. We want names. Who are the Stooges?
God, I don't know. I'd have to think. I have to, get a list of guys that want.
Oh, I'll do it for the next show. Then we'll have a Stooge special. Jesse co-commentated this with Lord Alfred Hayes, as I mentioned before, fellow countryman for me, and one of my favourite WWF personalities of the era. Have you got any Judo Al Hayes stories? Did he show up in Hawaii for a bit?
I think so, but I don't think I was here. He came after. He had a West Coast Portland run. I think he was around Portland and stuff. He was a pretty rugged guy. He came from Wigan and stuff, I think, or had gone through there.
Yeah.
So he wasn't,
He was down south. He wasn't up north like I am.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a few hundred miles away.
But he had trained and been through a lot. You can tell by the way he did that rolling style, that tumbling kind of style. So he was just a nice guy to be around.
Specifically because you wrestled so many wrestlers with a British influence, what are the main differences in British wrestling that you found?
Well, the round system, and there's a little subtle, little different subtleties. They're rolling and tumbling and the movements and but if you take like Dynamite or any of those guys, take them and put in American professional wrestling, a match or two they adapt. It wasn't they certainly had the skills, and they had the timing, but it was a different type of timing. Used to working in different clubs, not arena type settings and stuff like that. I don't think the cheering is more like probably Japan, where it's more subdued and stuff. I don't know. I've seen some of those English matches in England and stuff. They seem a little more subdued and a little more. That's how they. You will look at them now.
Was his lordship ever? Was he ever even a good guy until he got to the WWF? Did you say he was mostly manager, or he was a manager a lot in America, wasn't he?
Yeah, but before they around Portland and those areas, I think he worked. I think in Hawaii he wasn't a manager in Hawaii, so if he was in Hawaii, he was working. He was a worker for quite a while, I think. Watched his territory, all around.
There's a story that Roddy Piper shares, and you know exactly what I'm saying. You know exactly what I'm going to say.
I read it in the thing. Yeah.
Right. Is this anything you've heard? I'll say what the story is. Roddy Piper once said that when he was very, very young in the business, Lord Al got his massive cock out and started helicoptering it around and chasing him around the locker room with it. Did Lord Alfred Hayes ever chase you around the locker room in such a manner?
No, I don't think I ever saw him with his pants off. Unfortunately, But no, I was
good piano player as well, I believe, and I'm talking with his hands.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure he can hit a bass note as well, when he needs to reach over.
Yeah.
Did you speak with him much while he was in the WWF and lovable commentator?
Occasionally, never any deep philosophical moments or hello, what's going on? No, not a big, we weren't buddies or not. I use respectful, and the same with him.
Just another hand to shake, another face to see.
Yeah, but a little closer. He was a steady. It was a usual.
I will go back to Jesse Ventura then. I mentioned the lawsuit before in 1994 against Vince McMahon. Jesse wins about $810,000. After Vince lied to him over what Vince claimed at the time, non-wrestlers receiving royalty payments for their appearances on videotapes. And I didn't write this down, but it was something like 96 videotapes that Jesse Ventura's likeness or voice appeared on. And that's why he ended up getting 810,000 in the end. Talk about when you heard about Vince McMahon being sued for royalties, and also did you ever consider suing for royalties after Jesse was successful?
Once that started and their videos and stuff were going on, there was I heard about it. In fact, Fuji, you know about Fuji, he sued because all the managing and the games, they were just coming out with the games at the time. So he was in a bunch of games and stuff. So he got a good size settlement. And different guys were starting to collect at the time. Who did and who wasn't? I never thought of it. I became a longshoreman and kind of didn't look back. I would, peek out of the closet once in a while, see what they were doing on Raw or, what was going on in WrestleMania. But I didn't really follow it. I knew John Cena, some of these other guys that were going around, but I wasn't, then when The Rock and Stone Cold were there, well, I followed it a little bit closer, but, I never became a diehard fan again, or even like I was when I was a kid. Yeah, I didn't really, but I knew what was going on, I would follow it. Sort of.
With the royalties then, obviously you got paid for, t-shirt sales and the dolls, not action figures. And, everyone gets on me, call them dolls. But so you never got royalties for, and you got paid for pay-per-view obviously as well, and ticket sales and, percentage of the gate and that kind of thing. But you never got paid for videotape sales.
How much at that time, I'm not sure. We all had a contract to sign, and then some guys signed it earlier, and they got on the first wave of dolls and stuff. And then later when that Coliseum video took over, and guys were getting, I still get, quarter of a cent back on different, videos and stuff. Now they pay me quarterly, and I never felt like it was Vince's obligation to support me the rest of my life after I got out of professional wrestling. Different things they did, they did, take care of me. And they signed me up, brought me in those legends and some of those other dolls and stuff. So, it's compensated.
No, but there was there's an argument to be made that, in television and films and stuff, you get royalties for when they're shown on TV. Same with music, every single time it's played on radio. On radio, excuse me. CM Punk recently maybe 2 days ago, as we record this, the WWE Network and their lack of paying royalties. And let's call a spade here. They're really screwing a lot of people out of, potential money owed here, because all old DVDs and videotapes used to come out. Wrestlers did actually used to get royalty payments from it, at least from the 90s onwards, and now you don't. Any opinion on that?
It's a lot tighter now. What it's like, I don't know. It's been almost 30 years since I've been out of there. So, but I think that, I always think the boys should get taken care of. I'm always, I cheer on the boys' side of what's going on. It's just, it's oh boy, that's somebody else's worry to do all the bookkeeping on something like that. That's a real.
Yeah, there's a real hornet's nest of, and I believe like maybe last year there was a legal challenge. This is completely off the top of my head, but it may have been like Bill Nye the Science Guy or something like that, or someone like that who sued one of these over-the-top subscription video services like Netflix or Disney or something like that. But for exactly this thing, because they're all not paying proper royalties apparently, or they're paying like a reduced percentage as compared to home video content like VHS or video DVD. As far as that's concerned, I'll move on and I'll tell you the rest of the card. For the LA stretch, Ricky Steamboat defeats Hercules Hernandez, originally supposed to be Bret Hart. Adrian Adonis defeats Uncle Elmer. Terry and Hoss Funk, which is Dory Funk, defeat JYD and Tito Santana. And in the main event, Hulk Hogan defeats King Kong Bundy. Now, a few questions about the main event that we'll get through. First off, King Kong Bundy memories.
Chris Pally came from Larry Sharp's Monster Factory down there. Larry and I were good. Larry's over here in Hawaii for a while. He loved Hawaii. And he stayed here. And I was living in Waikiki at the time. And we had a good time. Chris Pally had hair, great big guy, and then went to Texas and Gary Hart somewhere, Texas or Watts. And Gary Hart got a hold of him. And Gary's a hell of a sharp mind, business mind. Had him shave his head, put that black jumpsuit on him, and that was it. He took off.
Is King Kong Bundy the fattest man in the world that isn't jiggly? He was like 400 odd pounds and he was really solid.
Yeah. Well, he didn't go to many. He went by a lot of gyms. He didn't go too many.
He went to his friend Jim's house.
His thing is they would get. I don't know if he was like Bam Bam and would do 2 or 3 pieces a night, but he'd go back. He didn't go out much at night. He wouldn't. And he'd go and he'd lay in bed and watch TV. And he'd put the king size pizza on his stomach and leave it there, and have one of those big. You wonder why. Blood problems, and have one of those. Those 2-liter bottles of soda water, Coca-Cola or something like that. And boom, that was his night.
Yeah, you've got to maintain that physique.
Eat, I don't think he drank. I don't know. He may have been a drinker. I don't know. Like I say, he wasn't out. Wasn't around with many guys. I don't know. He loved to hear Nikolai sing.
Who did he hang out with? King Kong Bundy. Who was sort of like travel partners?
God, and you have to go down the roster. Maybe Nikolai. He loved to hear Nikolai sing. Oh God, he had the taste of a dog. He's Edelweiss or something. Nikolai, he thought he was some kind of opera singer. He was a classic.
Oh dear, just hanging around.
I don't know who he was. That good? Jimmy Hart. Who's Bobby?
Yeah, Bobby was his manager for a few years, yeah.
Bobby, who else was he around? I don't know who he was around. He wasn't, wasn't a group guy. Wasn't, didn't hang out with the boys kind of. He was pretty much a loner in a lot of aspects.
Move on then. There's a story out there that the originally pitched opponent for Hulk Hogan was, for WrestleMania 2, the main event, Jimmy Snuka. Now, he was let go, I think, June 1985 for various reasons. Supposedly, Snuka was to turn heel in early 1986 to set up the match. Before I tell you Hulk Hogan's, or because I've written it for you, but did you hear anything about Jimmy Snuka coming back in 1986?
Oh no, I can't. I met him turning heel. I'm sure Hulk must have nixed that. It wasn't. That was a pretty. There was a lot of people that just weren't going to turn, start booing Jimmy. You'd have to go there and kill a baby or something on TV. Well, he had the reputation for the Nancy, right? But they'd have to figure out a brilliant angle to turn him. And people love, he was over. I was fortunate enough to have hitch my wagon to his star. So it's I don't know, but I why take a chance? You got Hulkamania going strong and everything else. You're gonna go and split a house, half down the middle. Who are the other guys? Some other guys he didn't want to work with because, they were.
I can tell you a couple.
Dino in Montreal.
Yeah, Dino in Montreal.
Stuff like that, And which is who?
Jake. They tried that. They actually tried him versus Jake a couple of times, and in Jake's own words, he said that the reaction just wasn't right. And what really happened was he was getting cheered.
his business, it made business sense not to, because he had this golden goose there, and Hulk was young in his prime. I don't know why you'd want to rock the boat anyway, and take a chance on, unless you had a brilliant idea how you're going to turn Jimmy, and have to be really something to turn all the people off of him because, he was over, he was a Bruno. And I'm not as over as Bruno, but certainly could have, if he'd stayed as long as he certainly would have been there if he hadn't, gotten in trouble and, been different than Bruno. Yep. Bruno's always straight-laced.
When they brought Snooker in originally in like around 81, he was brought in as a bad guy, and they couldn't keep him a bad guy then.
No. Yeah.
So why? I don't know why if this is true, I don't know why they would think they could make him a bad guy after he spent several years being absolutely beloved, and he's been away from TV, so people are clamoring for him to come back as well.
And rock the boat too when Hulk is, when Hulk's doing business and Hulk is starting to, Hollywood and this and that and everything's, everything's going really good. They got their characters in there. They're going, their boss men, their policemen and their $1 million men and all the characters that Vince was bringing into merchandise and to market and stuff, So
plus, the cartoon had just come out, and I think Jimmy Snuka was in that, and he was one of Hulk Hogan's friends, so it would have sort of like gone, gone in the face of the cartoon, I suppose, in a way. Just to also mention this is, and this is very much rumor, but Hulk Hogan, as a rumor says, refused to work with a crazy maniac like Snuka. Now, you've said this before. I think it's well known that Snuka really gone off the rails by this point. Or in the like 18 months after the Nancy Argentino affair. But the fact is that he was also crazy over, and there's no, as you said before, it would have split the house, or maybe would have seen Hulk Hogan even booed out of the building.
Yeah, there was, I don't know about that. Snuka was always, I don't know about him going, and Hulk could take care of himself. He'd come up the hard way in Tampa. Matsuda and Briscoes and all those guys stretching him. Like I said, you take a guy 6'6", 300 pounds, and you keep beating on him. He's either going to shrink and melt and go away, or he's going to be able, get hard, and grow scar tissue, and be able to, you got somebody 6'6", 300 pound big guy, and you all of a sudden you taught him how to hook somebody. You taught him how to shoot. And, oh my God, we got to, not that Hulk was a big shooter or anything, but you got a half-ass monster here. And what the hell, you just, now that there's a lot of little guys go in and break his ankles or do something, but what's that going to do for your business? You're going international, and then you want to do something. This guy's drawing, Silver Dome, Pontiac Silver, 90,000 attendance, houses, and why do you want to take that kind of chance? It's just it's a gamble that you don't need to take because you're going to get the residuals anyway.
The only thing that makes me think that maybe Snuka would have been booed if he turned bad guy is that they were wrestling in LA, and Snuka doesn't really have any history in LA, I suppose. I don't think. Whereas Hulk Hogan was
Well, see, Snuka's a great worker, great, one of the fine. His style, like maybe, but his body movement and everything else. But he's no promo. He can't sell. He couldn't sell tickets on the mic. He's not. His charisma came as a babyface, like Pedro or like everybody else. I love the people. I love you fans. Amigo, hello, baby, I'm going to be there. I want to see you. I'm going to give, Magnus from Morocco. I'm going to call. I don't care, what a low down, no good piece of dirt you are. I adhered to my standards, and I'm going to fight for my people, Bada bing, bada boom, It's not even that good. I just, it's like, that was horrible, but you know what I mean? The sense of that type of, and as a babyface, you don't really have to, until after, you got Dusty and you got some of those guys after a while as babyfaces they cut promos. But look at your world champions is yes, sir, Mr. Soli is. I'm going to, or you Morocco. You think you think you're so smart. Bring it down here. I'm the champion. You want to come? You want the belt? Come and take it or something. But it never gets much more, colorful than that. I'm going to break your face and kick you in the nuts or something. No, you'd have a world champion or anybody talking like that. Or sing, get out, eat donuts on a promo or something. There's a certain amount of dignity that they had to bring to the, and so they didn't need those promos. Pedro had the same promo. Oh, amigo, I want to say I love all the beautiful people in Philadelphia, Boston, Baltimore, New York, Trenton, wherever it happens to be. Fill in the blanks. It was a pretty much a standard. And I'm going to say, all my beautiful people, I love you, and I'm going to do that, and then he'd break and he'd break into the Spanish and going down, and he started getting angry in Spanish. Nobody knew what the hell he was talking about by then. And it was just a little rant. And Hercules Cortez was the same way. He went up in the guy that died with Red Bastien in the Mustang, in the thing. He would, and boom, and he was huge. He had that big shoulder, big chest, and he just started, and he started rocking it, and he started speaking in Spanish. And Red Bastien was his partner, and he'd just go off. Nobody knew what the hell he's talking about. But he could get over. It's a baby face. It was a good baby face promo. But it was for towns that are all spread out too. It wasn't every night in that city. Minneapolis was a big area territory.
Well, we've talked about baby faces. We're going to talk about the ultimate heel manager, Bobby Heenan. This is going to be the last question, then we'll shut down the podcast. But Bobby Heenan, it's a sad story as well. I hadn't realised that Heenan wasn't going to show up for the main event to second King Kong Bundy to the ring due to him being hospitalised in Tampa with 2 fractured vertebrae and needed surgery. Now, afterwards, he would show up on WWF TV with a soft collar on for what seemed like decades. He seemed to have that collar on. But anyway, he was basically threatened with being fired. If you don't turn up, you're fired. So he discharged himself from the hospital, got on a plane, went to LA, bumped for Hogan. Show ends. He gets on the plane, goes straight back to the Tampa hospital to be sorted out. Neck issues with Bobby Heenan. Do you know what caused them initially, or was it wear and tear?
Time. He used to take wild bumps. He took all great bumps. The upside down turnbuckle over he was a lighter, smaller guy. He took great bumps, great work. He was always running. He was the ultimate coward. I think I was a coward. God, he made me look like, the Paul Bunyan or something. He was just, but he could do it with the blonde hair, and he was smaller and stuff. He was running, and he'd sneak in, throw a punch with nobody, punch you in the back with nobody, and then run out and get out of the way. And but he could do that. He was a manager, and he great. He started when he was like 12, 14, 15 years old. Back in those days, back in the Midwest with Bruiser. I think he was Bruiser. He was now this is a story, but I heard it from him and other guys. He was like a go. Bruiser used to. He was so funny. I don't know why. Bruiser had him around, and it was like Bruiser's pet, I guess, more or less. Because he's so funny and entertaining. He just boom, 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 boom. He just like it's like a machine gun. He could fire off just quips, and funny. That girl you're talking. Angel.
Yeah.
Angel. He'd do promos on her. Oh my God. Yeah. And he'd take her, he'd get all gossip going, and he'd work it, and he had a good fun. He had a good time with it. And everybody had good fun with him. He was, he was a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
They thought we were going to do something. You told me, hey, take it easy, you guys. I work with Robinson and those guys. They pull all that shit on me. What are you talking? You're talking to me, and really? But you had to be a little strong with Bobby because he wanted to be a coward. He wanted to be. He wasn't going to go over there and take your arm. And we worked. Me and Snuka were Lonnie Kaloa. We worked with him and Sergeant Goulet in Milwaukee for Vern. Sold Out House. And that's one of your things, greatest tag teams of all time. We had my business was to go sell, and Jimmy's would be to come back. They had a little popsicle stick or something. Well, I was flopping and dying all over the ring. And finally I got in there, reached and hit Jimmy the tag. Bada bing, the house fell apart. And that was, not before, but you're talking about your great tag teams and coordinated tag teams and greatest match you ever saw. Just the writing and the timing and the coordination of everything, that, it could be something, guys that weren't even that great that you were watching, that everything seemed to fall in place that night. And it was an angle that you really bought into and you're really into. And if it turned out bad, like that boxing match, then, you were sick. But if it was close to it and you could imagine it delivering all the aspects of what you wanted, it could turn, it could be epic. And people, in small towns, places, Carrollton or, Asbury Park in New Jersey, anywhere, Rochester, you could turn out a fantastic all-time match. Somebody might turn into, just because of the programming, the atmosphere, and everything else. And there were great teams and great individuals. It was born on that. But the wrestling and the nature of the beast is it, because of the TV programming, because it is naturally scripted more or less, though not per se, but in mentally scripted and everything else, that you're telling a story and you try to tell a good story. Sometimes you come together. It's not that we go out there, we have a match, and something starts going. I start covering you and you kick out, and I cover you another way and you kick out. And it gets more exciting like that. That doesn't happen by accident, or it happens, by experience, and wisdom. But that doesn't come by. Those are movie clips, movie scenes. So I said at the beginning, you have the great guys, the Rockers and the Bobby Morton and
Rock
Gibson, and Tommy Rogers and his partners.
Bobby
Fulton, you got all those kind of guys, but now and then. But then when you go to the meat and potatoes and thing, is it that you may have the four guys that aren't into the timing and everything else, and it's just something that works out, and they got their high spots and their things put together and their timing, and they want to do right, but it's not something that they make a habit of, and not something they're well oiled in, but the stuff that works out right. And if you happen to catch that match, whoa, that's the best match I've ever seen. It's just, and it's just timing, being there. Best movie. That's like Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, it's a great film.
I just watched the Matrix the other night. First time.
The new one. I didn't like it. I didn't like the old one.
The original.
I didn't like the old one. I couldn't get. I don't like sci-fi. I find it really hard to get into.
Saturday night. It was Saturday the weekend. I went to jiu-jitsu, and my grandson is not a gorilla, but an orangutan. He's bad. He's bad. Smaller guys. He's just two older kids, and he beat them both. He didn't even have to wrestle in the final because he was 2-0 and they were 1-1. They had to compete for second place. He's badass. So nothing to do. Saturday we get back here in North Shore, kind of limited, with the traffic and beaches and stuff.
They had to suffer with the Matrix. Just before we
football's gone. This is my time to him. I don't want to say anything. It's been 3 weeks. I've been doing these
basketball season.
I've been working and suffering on these pods, but football's gone.
Basketball playoffs are coming up soon. You can watch those.
Yeah. Basketball's got to get the last 4 minutes. They're good. They, a lot of, they got the college coming now, the Final Four. Excuse me. Final Four is coming in March Madness. But the pros are so big and they've taken all the college players out that nobody knows who the hell plays for the colleges anymore. The colleges used to be, used to have a pretty good idea who was playing. And now it's NBA is the only game in town.
Yeah. Just before we move off Bobby Heenan and close the podcast down, is obviously, I think it's pretty well regarded that Bobby Heenan's the greatest manager who ever did it. What, aside from good interviews, what do all great managers have in common?
I don't know if they all have something in common. Look, Lou was nuts. He cut himself with a razor blade, not a razor blade, a razor blade, straight edge razor, or pocket knives or something like that. Stand in the middle of the ring and go, just like he's starting an abortion or something. I told you my first time in Philadelphia when they were opening the Spectrum, they flew half a dozen of those guys up to there, and he was blading himself in the Battle Royal. Then one I didn't win $20,000 in, but he started, and anybody got near him, I came out, I looked like I'd run through a screen or something. I was all gigged up. What the hell is this?
But I mean, there must be some sort of like universal trait between some of them at least, as far as how they carry themselves without speaking.
Well,
how they interfere.
A good manager like Ernie and like Fuji, they concentrate all their thing for their men. They all their focus, all their thing is into the man. Lou was a little different. He's a little wild, a little crazy. And he liked to talk about Lou a lot, which, but he usually had, Samoans or Moondogs or some kind of maniac looking team that didn't really need a lot of selling. You just look at the pictures and they're over there growling and snotting. The Samoans, when they first came in, they were, holy shit, what are these guys? They look like, and Samoa and Africa and the defense, everybody had a concept of, they were really eat fish and didn't have like Abdullah the Butcher type thing. And they were just got over. They're another all-time great tag team too. And they didn't, they chopped a lot of meat. When the time was right, they'd come back. But they, but it's that greatest thing. The guy was thinking, all-time greatest, the best tags, and Macho Man and Steamboat in the Silver Dome, and that's and it was, don't try and belittle that match at all, because it was, it was excellent, it was fabulous. But it's happened before, and it'll happen again, and without having the 89 articles or 89 things you have to go to, and you're lucky. And then you're lucky you got Steamboat, who's a hard worker and would just about do anything for his, to get his show, to do his for his match or his, get his thing. Because when hanging him, I tell you, it was his idea that we hang him. When me and Fuji threw him, and I wasn't worried about hanging him because he's catching stuff. But I tell you, I just tore my shoulder out just before that. I kind of was worried about. I just killed myself throwing him over the rope. It was like a Herculean feat for me. My shoulder wasn't going for it. It was just. But guys like that, and he was Bobby was, but Bobby wasn't like that. Bobby could work. He got heat. He was a little, and the weasel, that weasel thing, Weasley guy, and his timing, psychology, just excellent. He's a guy. The brain fit. It worked with him because, how you can't stop talking glowing terms about the man unless you're the sheik and he passed out in your bed and you're the hard one and he jabroni. But if you're around him and you listen to him and spend time with him, you could see that and he wasn't He wasn't malicious. He didn't. Well, he said some nasty things, but he wasn't spending. It didn't seem like he was spending his time in the office, fishing with Vince or doing anything else. I think if anything, the promoters and the owners would be fishing with him, going for ideas with him. He was that cool. He was that good.
I can see you. You're yawning because it's nighttime. I'm
pretty good yet.
I was going to say, I'm yawning because I've had 3 hours sleep and I'm catching your yawns. Just before we go, if you can think of one. In fact, actually, I'm going to set this challenge for you for the next show when we record, is because you've mentioned best tag teams of all time. Next show, come up with a top 5 tag teams of all time in your opinion and why, and we'll talk about it on the next show. But I'll leave you with that. But before we go, because I mentioned Vince McMahon threatening to fire Bobby Heenan if he didn't show up with 2 cracked vertebrae, what's the most heartless thing you've ever seen or heard Vince McMahon do?
How true is that story?
I think that might have been in Bobby's book.
Okay. Well, Bobby's not a bullshitter. So that's pretty cold.
I mean, I'll definitely research that. I think it's from the book, but I mean, I can always.
I'm sure Bobby said it. It's not, it's not. I don't think he'd lie or he'd sensationalize anything. He has enough sensational aspects of his life that he wouldn't have to. Yeah, we wouldn't have to spike anything up. I mean, I'm sure, and he would. He's a trooper. He's as tough as Weasley as unathletic or unmasculine as he seemed to be, or let himself, be seemed to be. He was a rugged little son of a gun. He would cut his head off when he did a blade job. He wouldn't have to go again for gas, second time to get gas. He would just go. It was like Curtis. It was like he go opening for cesarean or something. He would just, draw. The first time I saw him, he was with somebody in Minneapolis. It was at 10. I looked up and he cut a vein. And then it wasn't the first time. Just half of the times he did blade jobs, they'd have to take him to the emergency to sew him up. Because he didn't know how to cut. He cut. He didn't know how to cut good. He cut real good.
Red equals green.
Yeah, he didn't. I did a lot of cutting, but I never tried to keep. I didn't want to maintain this. If I could have gone like Curtis and Snuka and Joe LeDuc and some guys, as much as I could. Dusty, Abdullah, Slash. I said, for Dusty, tag teams with Dusty. Go back in the mirror. He cut himself back in the locker room after it's over. Yeah.
You preferred a pristine forehead then?
Well, I got it. I went this way. I could sweat. I was a good sweater. I always sweating, always in shape. So if I had to get a good run going, a good hick, I could bleed all over the place. I used to get good blood, great blood, most of the time. Every once in a while, somebody strikes out. But I used to slow it out.
I wish I had a cough button. I coughed all over everything. That. Excuse me, I don't have a cough button here. I'm just coughing all over your answer. Sorry. For now, though, anyway, I'm gonna shut the podcast down. It's nighttime where you are, and I'm actually gonna take your advice and I'm gonna go for a nap. And catch up on some of the sleep that I didn't catch last night. It's just when I know I said this beforehand, but it's just when I know I have to be up early for something, I can never sleep.
Yeah, get a smoke doom, get a couple hours on the other end of the thing, and get you at least a little revival.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll kick out of it. I'll kick out at 2, as I always do, and carry on. But for now, I'll thank you very much, Don, for taking us through WrestleMania 2. Thank you.
I've been joining all the other guys on the. I've been watching a lot of the other guys, Brenzel and Shane Douglas.
Yeah, he's going to be coming back on as well, Shane, quite soon.
Shane Douglas,
so I always enjoy Shane.
Brunzy, who's some of the other guys you've had?
Adrian Streets.
I don't know him. I haven't heard his. No. There's one out from him.
This is quite embarrassing. I can't remember who I've had on, and I can't remember who's.
I've been watching him too, and I can't remember either. I remember Brunsey. You know, well, you should be more embarrassed than I am.
Well, I am more embarrassed.
I'm on that dementia, Alzheimer's doorstep.
Yeah, I've not too well.
You shouldn't. Shame on you.
I've got someone from the old TNA days.
And you should know that. I got licensed to be stupid. I've had a lot of practice.
I claim exhaustion. That's all I'm claiming. I can't remember who I've had on. Yeah. I know. I mean, this won't be probably news by the time people watch this, but I'm hoping to have Diamond Dallas Page on. I've just been in touch with a fella who was talking. Who was his handler.
I know Dal. I met him.
Yeah.
He went down to New Zealand to work the guy I worked with, Ray Johns, in the nightclub. I went down. I started doing. I did promotions and advertising for.
Of course, yeah.
And in Wellington, and then Dallas Page followed me down there. And Ray took him as the next publicity guy for the arena, for the club.
So
and then I met him. He was up in he lived over in Kauai here. And they were there and somewhere, a show or something around, and kind of goes, "Hey, brother, how you?" He says, I know Uncle Titus and the boys told me to tell you hello." So I know right away. I know these are all the surfers and all the guys, that are something. The surf crew, and the Titus he's the figurehead, the godfather, or was, of. In Kauai, great surfer, great waves, great that, and he name dropped Titus's name, and I said, "Oh yeah, you are a good guy."
So you
but
went.
He seems like he's done a lot for a lot of people.
So you went to his club then in New Jersey,
no,
like back in the 80s. You didn't.
No.
Fair enough then.
He stayed at Ray's place. Ray Johns was the guy that did the nightclub. He's a filthy slob. I don't know what he's doing, but I don't even know he was married at the time. I met him a few times. He seemed to be nice, and the things he's done for people.
I'll name drop you when I speak to him. Then. Dutch Mantell as well. He's been on recently.
Yeah, I see him.
Yeah,
he's good. Yeah, I like him.
He's going to be a semi-regular, maybe once every 4 weeks. So every fourth week or fifth week, I'll have him on. So that'll be fun. In a couple of weeks when we record again, WrestleMania... No, it wouldn't have done, actually. But I reckon we should probably do a WrestleMania special. I'm probably going to be doing quite a few reviews with various people. I've got some ideas, but when WrestleMania rolls around, we can watch it and... compare notes. This will be the first WrestleMania I've seen in 5 years. So, I mean, that's how out of the loop I am.
Isn't it 2 nights? Isn't it two shows?
It's 2 nights. The last one I watched was over 6 hours long, and it's just like, just have the best 4 matches, make it an hour, and then I can get on with my life.
What is it? Roman and
Brock.
The big guy.
Brock Lesnar.
Roman and Brock. Then the two Samoans then the tag, the Bro and those guys are just got a big push. Charlotte, Ronda.
Yeah. Kevin Owens and Steve Austin are not wrestling. They're going to have a confrontation.
I watched today. So they lost to get into WrestleMania. He and his partner, Seth Rollins. And he's got a plan. I don't know. He's got a new that he's planning. I don't know what's happening to Seth Rollins. They're making him totally unlikable. And he's a good talent. You can't. He's an office guy because they're taking care of him. They're giving him all kinds of time in the first 15 minutes of the show, and then a match. Then a hell of a match. He's a hell of a worker too. All those 3 guys are Roman, Rollins, and the guys in EDW.
John Moxley, yeah.
Yeah. They're all good workers.
Mm.
Then you look at EDW, and most of their stars are guys from WWE that went over. Now that Cody's gone and some other stuff, but they have their. But those guys are all gained. They're over. I don't know. They're all overkill, but it's what the kids like. People are liking now. I see all the group, Edwin Ginsburg and all these guys complaining. They're complaining about the Hall of Fame. Now the Hall of Fame is all bullshit. Shouldn't have Hogan and this guy's going. Vader's going in, and Ivan Koloff won't go. Vader's going in late. He should have gone in before. Ivan Koloff should be before. And here's a list of 5 guys that that I think are should be or got. Ivan was one of tag team. Just 5 different tags of guys. I didn't study it, but the 5 that should be in the Hall of Fame. And if they're in the Hall of Fame, which is a piece of shit anyway, then it's able to bring the God Undertaker into the Hall of Fame. Then it'll mean something because he's but don't put him by himself. You just can't. You don't know what direction they're going. And this guy said one guy has so much hate. I think Vince must have taken him up his office, ripped his pants off, and just raped the shit out. The guy that the 350 guy, because he hasn't, and you just look at it, and it's just hate. Why does McMahon do this? He's done this to the talent. He's done everything. There's no good matches. Randy Orton can't work. The matches stink. Now if you watch some of the matches, they're a little goofy. But you watch the top guys trying to produce for TV. It's hard work. It may be ridiculous, all the overkill and the over bumping that they do, but a lot of timing and the moves and the stuff that they're doing, the technical things and movement they're doing is beautiful work. It's just too much. There's no, 17 murderous finishes you do on somebody, and they kick out, and then they put a hold on you. There's no, that doesn't make sense. And both companies are doing. All the companies are doing. So it's not, nobody can throw stones. Everybody's, when they got to WAEW, those guys are flipping and killing and mauling each other, and then they get up. It's my turn to flip and kill and maul you. And then we go back, and then let's end up with a nothing. I've done a off the top rope slam and drop kicked you off from the roof and spun you down from the chimney, and but I couldn't. Now it's your turn. You top this.
I always like when people complain. It's like, oh, the kids these days are killing the business. It's like, did you not watch the Bushwhackers? They killed the business. I mean, they did some of the fakest stuff you've ever seen, and they were a really great tag team. But they didn't have to, but they did. Yeah,
there you go. They're great tag teams. You can see they weren't. I guess they were a great tag team when they're in Portugal and down south. Not Portugal, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, sheep herders.
And they're down south. They're bloody and fight and kick, and they were mean. Probably could have had those great all-time greatest best matches that you ever saw. Yeah.
Minus 5 stars.
5 star. Minus 5 star.
The Bushwhackers actually hold one of the other 5 matches that are minus 5 stars. It was on that Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view in about 1999 against, of all people, the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. That got minus 5 stars.
That's easy to have minus 5 stars or something like that.
How could you not?
The Sheik is doing the Sheik. Nikolai is big and impressive. Then who's their opponents?
Bushwhackers.
Oh yeah, wow. Look at their heads. Yeah.
At some point, I will go back and watch that. I've never seen it.
I bet it's.
Do you know what? That'll be something for next one. We'll watch the Bushwhackers versus Nikolai Volkov minus 5 star match from 1999, and we'll see. We could go through every single minus 5 star match and see how bad we really think it is.
Yeah.
Well, you don't seem very enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, I had a couple. Yeah, something that just doesn't work. I had one with Neidhart in Calgary, of all places, hometown. I think Dynamite gave here. Got a headache, bro. Blue. Here, take this for a headache. I didn't. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had no cognitive, collection in my mind. I did a move to this and that, and I couldn't put it down. I was trying to get Jim over. I think they wanted me babyface, but he was his town and blah, blah, blah. Boy, what a stinker. Never had a bad match.
That you remember fully.
Yeah, I can't remember a lot of them.
Right, so then
I choose to forget.
On that selective dementia note, I will thank you all for watching so much. We'll catch you next time we do one of these shows, and thank you, Don, once again for entertaining us all.
All right, man. Don't work too hard.
Can't promise anything.